The Godfather of Brexit, Nigel Farage.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Do I take it you're a pro-Brexit crowd? Are you enjoying CPAC? Well, it's great to be here, and thank you. Thank you to Matt and the gang for putting on an amazing conference, as you do every single year. I think I've become the almost resident foreign speaker here at CPAC every year.
We love you, Nigel!
And it all goes to show what a lot can happen in a space of 1 year. Because 1 year ago, I stood on this stage and I said there was an attempt by the political class, there was an attempt by big business, there was an attempt by big banks, an attempt by the globalists to overturn the Brexit result, to try and force us to vote in a second referendum, to try and bend the rules about those that could vote. And I said on this stage last year that after 26 years of fighting for our country to be free and independent, I would not stand aside. I would be damned if I was not going to get back into the battle to make sure Brexit happened. And that is what I did. Just a couple of weeks after CPAC last year, I launched the Brexit Party. We didn't leave the European Union on the day that Mrs. May said we would. And within 6 weeks, did Mrs. May excite some interest in the room? I got to tell you, she has one great distinction. She is without doubt the worst Prime Minister in the history of the United Kingdom. No question. But within 6 weeks of launching that party, when the country went to vote in the European elections, we caused a complete and total earthquake. We managed not just to win, we managed to get 50% more votes than any other party. We actually, ironically, became the largest delegation in the European Parliament from any European country. And with it, the next morning, before the votes had even been counted, Mrs. May resigned as our Prime Minister. And the Conservatives got the worst result they'd got in their 200 years of existence. And since then, so much has happened. Boris has become the leader, and Boris to date has picked up every word and every phrase that I have stood and fought for nearly 30 years. It's great news. It's really great news. And it means that at long last, we have finally left the European Union, and we are a free country. But all of this, not before I had my opportunity to give my last ever speech in the European Parliament. Now, in my 21 years as a member of this pretty appalling institution, I have without doubt become the most notorious MEP in history, the most unpopular MEP within the chamber in history, the most abused MEP in history, the most fined MEP in history, and at times, all right, I'll come clean, perhaps the most outrageous MEP in history. But and thank goodness for YouTube. Thank goodness for YouTube putting out those speeches over the years, because the BBC wouldn't have done it of their own volition, would they? So I had my last hurrah, and I thought, well, what do we do? How do you end? 47 years of membership, 21 years of my being there. What do we do? How do we say goodbye? And I thought, well, I've got a nice little idea. Because there's nothing really to be... Now, I never thought, by the way, I never thought in the United States of America I would ever dare do what I'm about to do. Because this... No, it's not illegal, don't worry. Because this is a nation that quite rightly is proud of its flag, proud of its identity, and it's a wonderful thing to see whenever I come to America. Wonderful thing. But kind of what globalism is all about is, of course, destroying the nation state, taking away its symbols, taking away its identity, replacing it with this new global order. And of course, the European Union is the epicenter of all that the globalists want to do. But I never thought in America, because those with a long memory, of course, will remember 1776. This is very, very high risk for me, I got to tell you. But they'll remember 1776, they'll remember feeling they were a put-upon colony. They were being taxed without being represented. They were being told what they could and could not do. And the American people said they'd had enough of that. And so you had your Declaration of Independence, and you won your independence from us and went on to become the most successful, phenomenal country mankind has ever created. But we too, as a United Kingdom, have a pretty amazing history, pretty remarkable history of who we've been and what we've represented. And I'm not ashamed of our flag. In fact, so we decided the last thing would be, at the end of my last speech, we'd wave goodbye to the European Union. And I thought it was quite a nice, gentle, quite light-hearted way of leaving this political union. And as I was doing this, and the rest of the Brexit Party MEPs were with me, the woman in the chair, who sums up humorless, leftist, globalist unpleasantness, not only cut the microphone off for the first time in my 21 years there, but very unpleasantly said, "You're leaving anyway, take your flags and go." And that's what the United Kingdom did at 11 p.m. on the 31st of January 2020. We took our flag and we've left! Thank you. Thank you. And now that flag is not just a symbol of the United Kingdom. That flag now across Europe is a symbol of liberty, a symbol of breaking free of this globalist project. And I don't just want the United Kingdom to leave the European Union. I want Europe to leave the European Union. So we're in a good place. We're in a good place. But one of the reasons One of the things that has made Boris picking up the right policies and winning a big general election majority, one of the things that made it easier for Boris was a man called Jeremy Corbyn. The British Labour Party had been completely hijacked by hard left, unpatriotic socialism. Does that ring any bells here in America? Hijacked by the hard left, and of course, the further left they go, the more extreme they become, the more they please their own echo chamber, but the less appealing they are to people living in Middle England. And Corbyn has been a huge contributory factor to Brexit finally getting done, to Boris winning a majority. And I think there is a big lesson in many ways that the Democrat Party in America should be learning, but I think in their current mindset, I mean, you almost feel sorry for them sometimes. No, okay, all right, fine. Just a bit nice for a bit, you know. So I wonder what you as a crowd think of Bernie Sanders. So you really don't like Bernie Sanders? Well, can I suggest to you that you're wrong? You should be backing Bernie Sanders. You should be campaigning for Bernie Sanders. You should be donating money to Bernie Sanders. You should be making sure, and I think he's going to do it anyway, but you should be making sure that Bernie Sanders gets that nomination. You need a Democrat Party that are as far left-wing and as anti-American as they possibly ever can be, because when that happens, what will happen in November this year is not only will you get 4 more years of this great President Trump, but I think with Bernie, you won't just get Trump. I think with Bernie, you can retake the House too. Very good. In 2016, the impossible happened and the British people voted for Brexit. A few months later, the totally unimaginable happened and Donald Trump won the presidential election. That was 2016. That was 2016, and now in 20, we've delivered Brexit, and I believe the omens are great for Donald Trump this year. And I want to say this about your president, somebody who has been maligned in the most astonishing way, somebody who has led elements of the press in this country and around the rest of the world to question his legitimacy as president ever since the day of that election. And I've been privileged, fortunate over these years to be able to get to know your president and genuinely to call him a friend. And I'll tell you something, the battle that he is engaged upon, and the battle that if you want success, don't just agree in conference halls with him tomorrow, but if you want success, commit to actively getting involved and making this happen. But Donald Trump winning a second term isn't just about the freedom, prosperity, and success of this great country. There's something even bigger that Donald Trump represents. A second term for Donald Trump in a world that has just had Brexit means we can, by the end of this decade, end the globalist project, bring back the nation state as the primary goal. We are living through a big moment in history. You are part of a big moment in history. And with 4 more years of Donald Trump, we will complete the job. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.